So now that we have all of our photos on our spread, we need to place our text. Now, if we look back at our spread, you can see how we have headlines, secondary headlines, we have text boxes in here, we've got a box for pulled quote, we have captions on the bottom left and the top right, as well as a secondary headline and a mod with a headline and reverse text on here. So let's create those boxes and put the text in. And I'll show you how to create the text wrap as well as these rounded corners and the red background. Okay, so in our spread, to make text boxes, we go to our text tool and we're going to just drag open the boxes where we want them. So I know I need a big headline here, I need a secondary headline box there, I need a box for my body text, I need the little box for that pulled quote, I need a box for captions here. And again, if you make sure that you line them up now with your columns, you don't have to worry about it later. But especially for the big headline boxes, you're going to be fudging around with them a bit anyway. So it's not that crucial. So you can just play with that. But I'm going to make this text box. And I'm not going to cover the photo altogether because I know I'm going to need to play with that spacing. And I'm going to create a box here. So I think those are all the text boxes I actually need on the spread. Now, to put the text in, you can either just click on them and start typing, obviously. So you could just put your headline in there. Japan trip, all right, something like that. Or in the case, if you've got things ready ahead of time, I've got all of these text pieces already written out. So I have them in a text file, and I'm going to be copying and pasting them. So I can copy that text, and right-click copy. Then click on the box, right-click paste, and put that in and go through it in that place. And I'm just going to do that off screen so I don't have to keep moving it. But I'm going to put all of my text pieces into the boxes that I need them. Now for the captions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, click on the box, and click V, and I've got my caption here. Now you see how there's a little red box on here with a plus sign. That tells me that there was more text than fit into that caption. So what I can do, I can go to my pointer tool, click on the little plus sign, then you see a loaded cursor. Now I can click on the next text box and it tells me it fit in here. Now again, it gave me a little plus sign here telling me that there's more text than what fits. So I can pull down. Now as the text box is big enough, you can see that's gone away, and we'll deal with that later and see if once I reapply the right fonts, whether that works. I'm going to take my headline for my little box down here, and again, I need to be on the text tool to be able to paste the text, and I'm going to take the body for my mod and place that in this box here. And I think that's all the text boxes I need. The one things I don't have in here, this should actually say 2 weeks in Japan. Weeks in Japan. And my secondary headline says March break trip. March break trip. Now, if you're creating your own spread and you have your own ideas, you can choose pretty much any font you want. You can select a box. You can go into your text tool. You can then choose a font from the drop-down list and choose anything you want and apply it and play with styles and sizes and so on. That's all nice and well, but if you're creating yearbook pages, then most likely your editors already are telling you what fonts they want to use to keep the book consistent. And that's where we have something called paragraph styles. So if you look on the right-hand side, they're paragraph styles. Now, if there aren't any styles there, then you can actually load the paragraph styles and borrow them from another document. So if you started a blank document and you don't have any styles, you can go into this little flyout up here and so you can say load paragraph styles, and you can travel to where you want to go. So in this case, there's the template that we're using, and you could load them from here. So if you click on here, open, and then it gives you all the choices of what you want to select, and you can load them all in. I'm going to cancel that because I've already have them loaded. So what that would look like then is I will click on a text box, and I will click on this is my main headline. So I can click on that. And I click on the second one. That's my secondary headline. This is my body text. So I'm going to click on body. This is my quote. So I'm going to click on that. Also my caption, click on that. And it's not doing anything for me. So we're going to have to figure out what's going on with that in a second. This is the reverse body. So we're going to scroll down a little bit. Should be a reverse body right there. and there is my secondary, my reverse headline. There it sort of disappears, but it's actually there in white. If you look, you can maybe see it on top of the grid. And that's most of them. Oh, I don't have my pulled quote yet, so I'm going to click on that one and see where's my pulled quote. There's my pulled quote style, so there's this one. And I'm just going to see what's going on with my caption. I'm going to highlight it all. If you click once, it places the cursor. If you double click, you select the word. If you triple click, you select a sentence or line. If you quadruple click, you get the paragraph. If you click 5 times, you get the entire body. And if you click 6 times, you get a sore finger. I'm sorry, that's a bad teacher joke. Now, again, if I click on caption and I click on that, see, now it's actually applied that style. And I'm guessing because it went from one box to the next, I couldn't just select the box to apply the style. But this way, and you notice this particular style lines up towards the spine. So it's lined up this way to the right here, and it's lined up to the left here. So that's a little trick, again, with that particular style. So those are all the fonts applied. Now, we got to look at a couple things. So first thing I'm going to do is down here for captions. What I want to make sure is that between each of the captions, there is a carriage return. So I'm going to make sure that my captions are descriptive enough that I don't need to number them, but I do want to hit enter so that we can actually see that each caption ends in the right place. So I'm going to make sure that this is long enough. And does that fit with our, did we get our caption for a deer? Go down a little bit more. Okay, now I've got my quote. Now you can see that the spacing is pretty good, but now you can see that maybe this box is a little too large. So if I bring that, make that a little shorter, then I can bring my caption in so it's within my margins. And now it fits just perfectly in here. So that's pretty good. And then over on this side here, now you can also notice this fits pretty close, but maybe my Kindle players are slightly large, so I'm going to take that box and bring it down again. And now it lines up perfectly with that eye line. You see how that serves multiple purposes. And we're going to play with the players a little bit. I'm going to click on that circle, make them just a tad smaller. So you'll find that as you place different elements on the spread, you might have to resize or reformat things slightly to make sure that you still get them to look the right way. There's never a sort of a set way. And then your editors might not like what you've done and change that again later as well. And I just noticed as I'm looking at this that this photo isn't actually lining up with that blue line, so we're going to tweak that. With our body text, again, I want to make sure that our body text actually lines up with the top of the photo as well. And there's empty space here, and it's going across 2 columns. So first thing I want to do here is I've got the box selected, and up here I can actually create 2 columns of text. And I want to make sure my spacing is the same as my guides here. So I'm going to make that a 0p6 spacing as well. And if you notice, I'm not really in my columns here. I'm going to bring that over, make sure that snaps to my column. I've gone one too far, so I'm going to go back one. There we go. Now, just look how perfect that fits. And there's a hole here, and that's where this comes in, and we'll deal with that next. So we've got this little quote box, and we want to wrap the text around that. Now, if I select that, there are text wrapping tools up here, and I can click on that. And already I've got a box with the text wrapped, and I can make sure that fits to my size. And that's not bad, but the spacing is a little awkward. I find that I don't like how it spaces up here. So I'm going to open my text box, my text wrap dialog, and I can say how I want to wrap. Right now, they're all 0 all around. So I'm going to go and make that a little bit bigger and say, actually, I want 0p6 spacing all the way around this box. And then I can play and say, okay, I want that box. I'm going to bring it in a little bit, and I'm going to make sure that it goes right up against my text. And you see how you have your little points that show you where the middle of the box is. So I'm going to use my arrow tool, and I'm going to make sure that that's right on the in the gutter between the 2 columns. Look how perfectly this text box now fits in here, and I've got a nice space with my write-up. Now, I'm not convinced with the spacing down here. I would like this text to actually line up to the bottom. So I'm going to go down and make sure it lines up here because I'd rather have the extra space at the top rather than at the bottom, so I have a nice clean eyeline. Now we have 2 weeks in Japan, looks good. March break trip is good as well. Maybe we're going to move it over just a tiny bit. 2 weeks in Japan looks good. I don't need to do anything with that. I'm happy with those two. Now we're just dealing with these here. Now, again, it's hard to see because we need to actually make a box that is red. So I'm going to take my box tool and I'm going to drag it. I want it behind the photo and I'm going to fill this whole space. And I'm going to actually cheat and make it just a half a square bigger than, sorry, 1 square bigger than the column so that my text can fit on the column. But this red box is going to go just beyond that, but that way things will line up. Now, it's a box, there's nothing in it yet, so I can go into colors, and I could choose colors, and that would be nice, or I can go into my swatches and choose color swatches. Now, this here is my red color that I want to use, so there it is. Now, it's in front of everything, so that's no good. So I'm going to go Object, Arrange, and Send to Back. Now it's behind. Now, there you go. You can see our Iki Island homestay headline's not bad. We're going to bring it down a bit so it's actually inside the box. Okay, and now for this text box, again, we want to make sure that it's actually in the columns. And we want to make it sure it's 2 columns with 0p6 spacing. There we go. And now we can bring it down a bit. There we go, so it doesn't interfere with our headline. And now again, with this photo, we want to wrap. So we're going to click on here. And we're going to apply a text wrap, and I'm actually pretty good with the way it's set up here. You can notice I have a little plus sign telling me there's more text than fit the box. So I'm going to pull that down, and it's still there, so maybe I need an extra line at the top. See, how much more space do I have here? Oh, there we go, just 1 word. So maybe if I take this photo box, I'm going to make this a little shorter. I'm going to take this photo box, and I'm bringing it down just 1 line, so I can bring one more line in there. And now make sure that I have a little space around that. So I want to, actually, no, I want to go right to the edge. We don't want a margin there. That's good. I'm going to take my photo, move them down a little bit so I can cut off his head as much. There we go. That's good. And I go back to my text box and pull that down. And look, now it lines up nicely, and I can pull that down here. So I'm pretty happy with that spacing. I'm not happy with this one. I'm going to pull that back up so that I actually go as high as the text. So that evens out nicely. So now I have a nice box in here, and that looks pretty close already. So that could already work as a finished spread. What we're still missing, if we look at the finished product, is the rounded corners and also what's called our folio, our page number down here at the bottom, and the page number at the top here. And those are on a different layer. They're on the master page that I alluded to in the very first spread. But I will go back into that and show you that in the next one in the tricks.